F1 is back. The driver press conference kicked off the Bahrain GP with some interesting statements from the drivers. The first practice session was good for some but terrible for others, and in particular for Mercedes, who looked to be in serious trouble.
Verstappen coming his way, Hamilton moves to the middle of the track, forces Verstappen wider at turn 1.
Want to find out what Hamilton really thought of the car and if Mercedes really have a chance, according to the champion? And stick around to the end as we expose the real Achilles heel of the Mercedes car and if Aston Martin are actually sandbagging. The first drivers' press meeting provided a rather intriguing insight into how this season will play out.
Verstappen's got big damage to his wing and has Lewis Hamilton got a puncture?
Hamilton's moving all over the place, wasn't he? Really struggling to keep...
Mercedes were particularly cautious, as you would expect from their last season outing. Hamilton rubbish claims that there was a plan B for the Silverstone-based team, and George Russell said Red Bull was in a league of its own. Not exactly fighting talk from the Silver Arrows, but Hamilton has said he has come prepared for a championship fight, so maybe Mercedes are not sandbagging after all.
Wonderful for the Constructors' Champions!
George Russell, you are a Formula 1 race winner.
The learnings, the findings we found, I think, is going to put us in a better stead for this weekend. But I think it's definitely fair to say Red Bull are in a bit of a league of their own this weekend here in Bahrain. But I think it will probably be a nice fight for second place between Ferrari and Aston Martin, said Russell. Max Verstappen fired a pretty ominous message to his rivals as he said that the new Red Bull car had been improved all over. And judging by their preseason and practice runs, the rest of the field has a lot to worry about. But are they hiding something? Everywhere. That's the aim. I mean, you always try and improve it. It feels nice, well-balanced, of course, and every team, of course, lost a bit of performance with the floor, but you always try and gain it back in a way. So you have to, of course, find a new balance with the car, but it's been good, said Verstappen. The team's closest competitor last season was Ferrari, but the team suffered a major setback in its practice sessions, with the team having to backtrack on its initial wing design after it was wobbling all over the place in practice. And they had further issues in the second practice session as Leclerc had to come into the pits after he relayed this message to the team. Guys, there is something strange with the clutch, so let's look at it. Not the best outing for the prancing horse, and the Tifosi will be hoping that it improves before Sunday. According to Anthony Davidson of Sky Sports, he thinks Ferrari is sandbagging. I do feel that Ferrari are one of those teams that have been sandbagging a bit. I expect a lot more of them in qualifying. I'm sure they're going to be hot on the heels of Red Bull in qualifying. I'm confident the Ferrari seem confident in the speed they have for qualifying, he told Sky Sports. Music to the ears of Ferrari fans who will be hoping the team can repeat the team's performance come Sunday.
In one corner, but a lock-up there might just allow him to fight back with Carlos Sainz. Alonso heads them up the hill.
One team who's apparently been sandbagging is Mercedes, but at what point do you stop sandbagging, with Russell in particular struggling in practice on Friday? Lots of disturbance aerodynamically down the straight, Russell told the team as his car is blown from left to right. Lewis Hamilton also said Mercedes have an uphill battle with the team really struggling for pace in Bahrain, and the former world champion had this to say about the car, and it's not a great outlook. We found out we're a long way off, he told media at the conclusion of Friday's action when asked about where he feels Mercedes are in the pecking order. So we kind of knew that a little bit at the test, but it's a big gap. I'm trying everything I can out there, but it is what it is. The Brit went further to say that there is no improvement that can be made to the setup of the car as it's running at optimal, and even those tweaks will not close the gap as Mercedes has made no improvement since last year.
At the rear, it's Max Verstappen coming his way. Hamilton moves to the middle of the track, forces Verstappen wider at turn 1.
On the long run, we're quite close to Ferrari. It looks like Aston was second, and we're kind of between third and fourth. So we're kind of where we were last year, if not a little bit further behind. He is, however, hopeful that they can improve later in the season, but for now they are going to have to hope in other teams making mistakes and a bit of luck to get on the podium. I have to be hopeful. There was good progress through last year, but the gap wasn't as big as it is now, he said. Do I believe we can close the gap at some stage? Yes, but I think it's quite hard with the concept we have. Many Mercedes fans have been scratching their heads as to what the problem is with the car, with many believing that they are hiding their pace, but most pundits are not buying it. And according to Ted, the real Achilles for Mercedes is the rear part of the car, with the team bringing an upgrade to the Bahrain practice sessions. I know I'm going to sound like a boring engineer when I say this, but the Bahrain track is very rear limited, said Kravitz. which means that it's all about having a strong rear axle on your car and that there's lots of opportunities to turn into a corner and have the rear slip away from you. That's Mercedes' real Achilles heel at the moment, as the back of their car won't stick, and so they believe that when they get to a less rear-limited circuit than Bahrain, then they will show quicker lap times, and Bahrain is probably the most rear-limiting circuit, so that's what's exposing their issues. Mercedes fans will be hoping this is all part of the facade, but the longer it goes on, the more you begin to think that they are facing the same problems as last season. There is a small silver lining, as Andrew Shovlin did say there was an improvement incoming for the team. We are still working on the balance. It's not where we need it. There's more to do. Side pods are a similar theme. If you go and copy someone else, you go backwards before you go forwards. In terms of the concept, we will look at where we are in the early races. We have evolutions in terms of side pod design coming. There's a lot we need to evaluate anyway. Now, Red Bull's preseason has been impressive, with the team looking every bit the champions that they have proven to be in the last 2 seasons. Max has looked composed, and Checo has come out fighting to say he will be pushing Max to the end and not moving over for the Dutchman if asked. But there was a slight hiccup in the first practice session. Helmut had this to say about it. "There is something wrong with Verstappen's car. We cannot explain what is going on. On both tyres we have these problems. He should actually have the same car as during the winter tests and as Perez, but that is not the case," the Red Bull advisor told motorsportmagazine.com. "We are not sure why this is, but the team most definitely sorted it out, with Max finishing P2 in the second practice session." And the story of the first day of practice was Aston Martin, with the team topping the charts for pace in the second session, and the team not looking short of confidence, but it does appear that the team is short of race pace. According to Anthony Davidson, the team is still 3 to 4 tenths away from Red Bull, but if you gave this to them last year, then they would have grabbed it with both hands. Alonso was cautiously optimistic after the practice session. "Well, obviously, it's another step in the right direction. The car still feels good, but we need to wait and see. At the moment, there is still not much focus on times because we have to improve a few things on the car in terms of setup, but also it is still early days." The Spaniard went on to talk about how the team is still improving and its general attitude towards how the team is set up and how it will only get better from here on out. At the moment, it is only a few test sessions. It is a matter of time that Aston Martin can challenge top teams. We are in an interesting process with a completely new car, new technical department, and a lot of things we are learning. There is still a long way to go. Alonso has been dreaming of a championship-winning car, and the way he looks now is that he is hungry and ready to fight. When looking at the Aston Martin, they have made huge changes, and you begin to think that they could be sandbagging. Listening to Alonso, it really sounds like they still have tricks up their sleeves, and that it's not only the other teams that are sandbagging, but possibly Aston Martin as well.